Hey everyone, welcome to another TKYT session. For today's session, we are going to be learning about PWAs. They are the hot new old topic in web dev right now, especially with the whole Apple EU thing and 37 signals pushing for PWAs too. So on the show today, I have Danny, who is a PWA specialist, to come teach us the state of PWAs, right now and going forward. How you doing, Danny?
Hi, Kelvin. Nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. So late last year, I have been interested in PWAs because I felt like the timing was primed and the web ecosystem has evolved to we could have much more value for PWAs. Unlike before
hmm
when heard about it, like the time where service workers were in rocket science. I think the technologies and everything has improved. So I'm really excited about this session. But I think we need to, introduce you. So can you introduce yourself? Tell us who Danny is, what you've been doing, what you're currently doing, and a fun fact about you. That section is very important. The fun fact.
yeah, of course. Okay, I'm Danny. I'm a freelance JavaScript and TypeScript, like all-around web developer from the Netherlands. I'm also the creator of what PWA can do today, which I'll show later. And what PWA can do today is a showcase of demos of what is possible today to do with progressive web apps. I built that, I think, around 5 or 6 years ago. I put it online, about 5 years ago. It basically started out as just a test app, a test page for myself to see what is possible on different devices. So I had some old devices, some old Android device from my wife, some old iPads, all that stuff. I needed to test that, which is sometimes a bit hard to do on localhost. So I put it online. The app itself is also a progressive web app, so you can install it to your device. And then after a certain point, I thought like, well, maybe this is nice to put out. So I put it out, promoted it on Twitter, what is now X. And it's getting quite some traction now. So I'm adding demos regularly. I'm also publishing a weekly newsletter now, the Modern Web Weekly, where I write a lot about progressive web apps, and also on Medium, and of course on Twitter. I'm quite active about this. And a fun fact, I actually started getting into web development before I used to run a radio station from 97 until 2003. At a certain point we had to quit because we were not making enough money. The Netherlands is quite a small market. And then my idea was to continue as a independent radio consultant, which is quite a common thing in the United States. I had all my inspiration from there, but I couldn't really make any money with that in the Netherlands. But when I started doing that, of course, I needed a website. I knew nothing about HTML, about web development. So I started messing around with that. And then I thought like, hey, this is really fun. When I was a kid, I had one of those Atari home computers where I was learned BASIC on. So I remembered that, like I enjoyed that always a lot. And then I thought like, well, this is much more fun than being a radio consultant, which I couldn't make any money with anyway. So
Yeah.
that's my story of how I got into web development, actually.
Wow. That is quite the story because, I never would have imagined because, from you have a radio business, then
Yeah,
you
yeah, yeah,
now,
yeah,
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 you're
yeah.
now a specialist in web components and PWs. How does that even happen? But that's fun.
Yeah. It was really like I remember clearly one night I was sitting at home and it just came to me like, wow, I remember when I was a kid. I think I was about 10 or 11 years old. I had this Atari home computer. It was at the time when the Commodore 64 was also very famous, and that's where I learned to program BASIC. And that was really before the time of floppy disks and all that stuff. So it was really basic. But
That's
the seeds were planted at that time, I guess.
Yeah, the seed was planted, then you had to do something else, then you came back to
to web
software and
development. Yeah, yeah,
programming and all
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah,
that's awesome. Awesome story.
yeah.
Thank you for sharing, Danny. So yeah, so let's. I think we should do like a primer because I think it's safe to assume that most folks in web dev already know what PWAs are. But do
Hmm.
you want to like just crash course like 2 minutes
Yeah,
PWAs?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, a progressive web app is basically just a website or a web app, if you will. I like to talk about web apps instead of websites. And basically, the only difference is that, yeah, a progressive web app is a web app on superpowers. It basically has two things, which is a manifest.json file. The manifest.json file, it defines the icons that the app will have when you put it on the when you install it to the home screen of your device, of your mobile phone or your tablet. And it also specifies some other things like the how it will be displayed, what is the start URL of it, some other things that it has, like for example some screenshots. I'll show you that later. If you want to install a progressive web app from your browser, you can nowadays you can have some more information. You get like a nice pop-up with screenshots. You can
Wow.
also define it in there. You can define shortcuts. For example, if you're on an Android device, you can long press the icon and then you get like a context menu with some shortcuts, which are basically just URLs in your app. So if you have like some page, some functionality that you want to create a shortcut for, you can do it there. Those are all the things that are defined in your manifest.json file. It's kind of like a lot of metadata.
Mhm.
And the other important thing, the other pillar is the service worker, which is basically just a web worker, special kind of web worker. And it sits in between your browser and the network. So basically what you can do, you can let all the network traffic from your progressive web app goes through the service worker. So you can intercept it there. You can do whatever you want with it. You can do really nice things with it. The idea is that through the service worker, you can serve assets locally. So what you basically do when a progressive web app is loaded for the first time, you get all the assets like the images and the style sheets and the JavaScripts, and you can cache all that. And with that, you can make your web app work offline, like totally offline. You can just boot it up; it will start. You can any page that you cache, you can still work with it while offline. And it can do some other cool stuff like background fetch, for example. If you have like a music app and you want to download some music, or let's say you want to download a podcast. Normally, if you want to do that on the web, you have to leave your web app open because the minute you close it, everything is gone.
Mhm.
With background fetch, for example, you can have it download stuff in the background. So if you have a large, 50 megabyte podcast that you want to download, you can just close the app totally, and the stuff will still download in the background. And then when you come back, the podcast is there for you. And there's also background sync, for example, like if you want to do a HTTP call and you do that while your device is offline, you can cache it. And then when the device comes back online, it will send those calls out for you. So you have like some kind of an outbox system. And of course, also notifications, push notifications that are also managed by service workers. So if you have a PWA on your phone and it's not running and a push notification arrives, the service worker will be woken up by the operating system, and the push notification will be delivered even when it's not running. So those are basically the things that make your web app feel more like a native app, like an
Mhm.
icon on the home screen, offline functionality, notifications, all that stuff. That all comes through the manifest.json file and the service worker. So if you have those two in place, you can basically have a basic progressive web app.
Nice. Yeah, that was quite the crash course. Thank you, Danny. From everything you've mentioned, the PWAs are like so close to being native, except of course it is a web app, right? It's made with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript and all that.
Hmm.
So I'm wondering, like, in your opinion, right? Because in web dev, there's always the absolutes, which is like use PWS for everything, or no, use native apps for everything. So how do you discern when to go PWAs for like apps? So for example, if I have a PWA, do I still need to have a mobile app, or can a PWA fit for most scenarios in terms of the apps we're building on the web today?
It really depends on your app, of course. I personally believe that maybe 80% of native apps could just as well
Okay.
be a web app, a progressive web app today. But of course, the elephant in the room is the lack of
Mhm.
support on iOS. I'm sure we're going to talk about more in this session about that. But that, of
Yeah.
course, is the number one problem. On Android, you can have most functionality that native apps already have today. Of course, if you have like a messaging app, you cannot do like an incoming call like a calling app can do nowadays. If you have WhatsApp, and I
Hmm.
do a WhatsApp call to you, you get like a full screen call. You cannot do that with a progressive web app today. But a
Mm.
lot of stuff you can already do. But the problem is the iOS support, of course. Yeah, a lot of stuff is still missing there, although it has improved, yeah, dramatically. I have to say they've really done a very good job at that. Yeah, but it really depends on your app. If you need the functionality on iOS that is missing, of course, then you have no choice. You really have to go with a native app. Could also be
Okay.
that you need a lot of yeah, processing power. Although PWAs offer very good um, um, functionality nowadays and performance nowadays. There could, of course, be situations in which you will need a native app. Yeah, and of course, we have to admit that the developer experience and the stuff that is out there, like the Swift UI and stuff for the apps, is much better. It can be
Cool.
much easier to build that. Although I also hear horror stories from iOS developers who say it's really hard to get the build right and all that stuff. And then, of course, the downside is that if Apple decides tomorrow, they think like, we don't like your app anymore, or we're going to build our own version of your app, that they can kick you out of the App Store right away, and you're gone. So there is a lot of dependence on that. That
Yeah.
is, of course, a major downside also of being dependent on the app stores nowadays. So yeah, that is the biggest selling point of progressive web apps. You can just download them. Everything is free. You don't have to pay any commissions. You don't have to worry that Apple or Google is going to kick you out of their app stores. And of course, if you do it right, yeah, you can do it much easier because it's only HTML, JavaScript, and CSS, and you don't have to do like yeah, maintain like two code bases, or do something with Flutter or Expo or something like that, which are very good libraries, of course.
Mhm.
But then still, you have to go through the App Store with stuff like that. So basically, what PWAs do is they free you from the App Store, and yeah, especially on Android, we have, I would say, 90% of the functionality you would need. So if you can, I would say start with a web app and go with a native app if you really have to.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that makes sense really. Because of most times we just assume the, like, using the highest terms of technology, while we can just build up and just see and get feedback, be like, okay, I think our users probably would benefit in terms of performance, or I don't know, because I can't remember the last time I installed a native app on my phone. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I am frequently uninstalling ones I don't use often, because I feel like I can just access it from the web, right? One of the most used app on my phone is Typefully, and it's a
Hmm.
PWA, and it works really good for what it does, right? And I think it is not like an average app, because it's like scheduling in the, like, the whole app experience. So, and I don't even think it uses a lot of the PWA's functionality. I don't really care because I don't need it for the app. So all I had was install to home screen. When I click on it, it just load the web app. But of course, it looks like a native app on my phone. And for most
Hmm.
apps, really, I think they won't even have to do like service worker for caching and offline first experience, which is like really good. So most just getting that experience from the web and just giving folks that want to like add to home screen to their phone. I think most apps like would just pass that and like the basic
Absolutely.
feature of PWAs, right? Go ahead, Danny.
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing that's also a problem is, or problem, a lot of people, when I write on Medium or X, a lot of people are sometimes surprised that they say, "Oh, I didn't know that PWAs could do that." The
Yeah.
problem is that a lot of websites right now are just created. A lot of web apps just are there to promote the native version of that app. A lot of times you go to a website like a Medium, for example. What I write for is also a good example. If you go to the website, it's perfectly fine. But for example, you cannot answer to any comments on any stories, or there's a lot of more missing functionality, which really makes no sense
Mm-hmm.
because they can do it on the web. But I suspect that the native app they have is just like a web view or something, and
Mm-hmm.
Apple dictates that a native app cannot be just a repackaged website. So if you have like a website, you wrap it in a web view, Apple will not accept it. But
Oh.
probably if you take away some functionality, you say like, hey, we have some extra functionality in the native app, which can be implemented perfectly fine on the web as well. Uh, Otherwise, it won't get accepted. So that's really strange sometimes.
Mhm.
Like a lot of companies just build a crappy web app just to promote the native app. And subsequently, a lot of dev things like, PWAs are all crap. I mean, look at this, it doesn't work. Of course, there are still a lot of subtle bugs and some really annoying bugs, especially in Safari, that hinder the development of PWAs.
Mhm.
But they can do so much more, and that's also what I'm trying to show with what PWA can do today. That a lot of web apps can perfectly fine be native apps. So they native apps can be web apps, no problem. The
Yeah.
functionality is all there, and there's no reason to build a native app.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And in terms of like, not just technical cause, but business sense. So I saw the an issue from the pragmatic engineer, newsletter by Gerge, and he mentions that, it's much more enticing these days for to use web dev technologies to build sort of like native like experiences than
Yeah,
having to go get, because now you're going to have to get a separate team that knows Swift, that know Kotlin and all that, like it just extra cost in terms of engineering. But if you can really make a good enough PWA today, and let's face it, not all our business logic gonna need all the performance of native. So we just need to do more in education and in infrastructures and also in tooling to make teams adopt
absolutely.
PWAs really easily. So I feel like, at a certain point, our frameworks, that we use on the web, we most of us use a framework, should sort of like um have support for PWA, like the basic. So you could just quickly install or with configurations, get like a working PWA. I think Rails 8 is doing that from like, from the Ruby
Yeah, I
world
know.
where they, and I think that is the direction that sort of make the adoption really easy. Because if you tell an average developer, okay, you need a manifest.json file, okay, let's go Google that. What's does he need to have? Okay, okay. Then they're going to mix up stuff. Then when it comes to working with service worker, that one is another crazy one with the caching. So I feel like the
Yeah, yeah.
tooling needs to get to the point, right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. That's also a lot of times what I get back from iOS developers. Sometimes you get like condescending comments like, "Oh, it's all crap," it's nothing. But you also have iOS developers who are more constructive, and they say like, "Okay, I would like to build a web app, but hey, I'm dealing with caching. I'm dealing with performance. A lot of
Yeah.
stuff is much harder to do on the web, which of course is something that you will always have to deal
Mhm.
with. JavaScript needs to deal with backwards compatibility, so the language will always get bigger. Yeah, we have to admit that a lot of stuff is just easier to do when you do iOS development. So
True.
that will always be the case. the web is quite a hostile environment. You will have to deal with that. It's always a lot of networking in
Yeah.
between. But yeah, I agree. The tooling also needs to be better. That's also something that I'm personally am working on a lot lately, to offer some better tooling for PWAs. Because yeah, like you said, that's a great example. Service workers are sometimes people. Or they're desperate. They email me like, "Oh my God, this is voodoo. What did I do?" And my whole browser is stuck. And
Oh
it's
my
it's it's
God.
it's not rocket science, but you have to
Yeah.
learn. You have to learn that stuff.
Yeah.
And that will also drive more adoption, because
Exactly.
I think it's crazy that a lot of web apps don't work offline. And when I say offline, I don't mean like
Mm-hmm.
when you turn off the network, that everything has to work, but at least you should cache
Yes.
your assets. So when somebody is in a rural area, or they're in a shopping mall, it happens to me all the time. You're in a shopping mall, and they open your web app, and they have a bad connection. At least they already have all the scripts and all the images, and all the JavaScript is already cached. So at least you can show them something, and then you can use that little bandwidth you have to maybe do some API calls, and you will be much faster. That's the essence of offline, not having work your chat app, work offline, or all that nonsense.
Yeah, of
That's not it.
course.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's.
it's about those situations when you have a bad network, that
Mm-hmm.
you can still provide a good user experience to your users.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, yeah,
So you definitely spot on that, and I'm really glad you're doing the work. I want to see, because I think this is the place of frameworks, right? Because at the end of the day, they're supposed to, give you like a framework to make good web experiences, right? And I think
yeah.
take my app for example that I'm building, Hackfish, which is like an invoice management tool, right? At a certain
Hmm.
point, I would want to be able to add to home screen on it, so I could send push notifications to my users when the scheduled invoice has been sent,
Yeah,
right?
of course.
Now,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
just just imagine that basic use case, right? Like for
Hmm.
someone who don't know PWA, just to have that, push notification, they'd be like, "Oh well, I probably need a native app for this." But we know it's possible in the web, but I don't have
Yeah,
the technical know-how to do that, because first of all, I'll go to, okay, how do I work the service worker, right? And how do I, um update the service worker, because I know that's another issue right there, right? But if I have like a go-to framework who has sort of like fine-tuned all these rough edges, like make it really easy for me to just adopt, then like take me from like 0 to like maybe 70%. I think anyone can just start off their apps having PWAs from the get go. I'm not going to shoot themselves in the foot when they have to do with caching or even working with index DB. Back in the day when I wanted to learn PWA, I took a course, I think it was from Linda or something. Service
hmm,
worker index DB. I got confused. I'm like, okay, what is the benefit of all this complexity right now? I don't want
yeah,
it. So I just abandoned that pursuit and just be like, you know what, it's fine. Let's just do the way we know how to build on the web.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
according to like, do you see that improvement? Because I saw like the workbox thing, I think it's from Chrome, right?
Yeah, it is.
Like,
Yeah, it's from
yeah,
Google, I think. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, like, yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead.
I haven't used it myself,
Mm,
because I really wanted to know, of course, yeah, if you're going to be a specialist, of course you have to
yeah,
know
of course.
all the nuts and bolts, and of course go down to the metal for that.
Mm-hmm,
But I hear good reviews from that. I think it was abandoned for a while.
mm-hmm,
But now I saw some posting from somebody. I think one of the maintainers the other day on X said, no, it's definitely coming back. I think there's another team behind it or something like that. So
nice.
that will stay. I also expect to get some more stuff in that. I'm also building something myself,
Mm,
basically for myself. Maybe I will open source it, maybe not. I'll see. At least what I do, I write a lot about this stuff. I post a lot of code examples also. But yeah,
mm-hmm.
of course, in the end, you have to put everything together. You have to
Yeah,
implement it, and that's where the real trouble starts. Sometimes, yeah, yeah. But
definitely.
I think still it is good. Like it's fine to use. Like I'll say, it's fine to use a JavaScript framework, but also use learn the vanilla JavaScript, And I think with progressive web apps, it's the same. It's service workers are not easy, but then on the other hand, it's not rocket science either. It's something that you can really pick up if you put the time in it. But yeah, of course, a good framework, a good boilerplate repo or something would make that much easier. And they are out there, but yeah, not too many.
Yeah, true.
So
Definitely.
yeah.
Yes. I want to be able to add this, like the PWA functionality, just like what Rails is doing with the result, to have it in like sales or the borrowing stack, where, because I want to use it, because I do know I have, especially push notification. That one is very, very interesting to me. Then maybe offline first capabilities, because of course, if you've visited the list of your invoices before, I don't have to go to the network the next time you come, except you okay, refresh the stuff or whatever. But I could be able to cache and just show you what was there before, so you don't have to, because this also saves the users data, and also improve their experience, because you're not going to the network all the time. So I think I want to see this happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, for any web app, this will be really good because, of course, you can rely on the browser cache, but as soon as when the network is gone, that's not going to work either anymore, of course.
Yeah.
So it's such a simple improvement. You don't have to go through all the stuff with IndexedDB, and all the all the caching strategies that you have. You can just put a simple fetch handler in there. The handling code, the callback that takes care of handling all the network requests, and just cache your assets. You just start with that. It's very simple, and do that, and your web app will be a lot better already.
Yeah,
it is.
definitely.
It's really important. Of course, the push notifications will be a bit harder because then you also need a backend for that. And if you want to schedule them, you would also need to build something like a scheduling mechanism.
Yeah,
I think,
for sure.
Amazon, Google Cloud, those cloud providers probably have something for that.
Yeah.
But for that, you will also need,
Definitely. I will definitely look into that. So I'm not really worried more about the backend, because I do know I need to, like, the jobs and everything, but like just the ability to not, I think with the web push notification API, you probably don't need, what's the Amazon service for that, or all the third party service that deals with native push? We could just use the web, right?
Yeah, they have this simple
Yeah. Is
notification
it?
server,
Yes.
SMS.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So
No,
you probably
you
won't
won't
need
need.
that.
No,
Exactly.
you won't need that. Basically, how push notifications work is you just send a API call to the URL that the browser provides. So whenever you ask the user for permission in the front end, there's code for that. Then you get like a native pop-up in your browser.
Wow.
And then you will get back a registration object, which is just a JSON structure, and there's a URL in there. And I think for Chrome, it points to Firebase or something. And then for Apple, it will point to some Apple server. It's just a server from those browser vendors. And then they will take care of the rest. There are specifications for that, for what that call should look like, but I just use a library for that. There are a couple of libraries out there. You just give it a JSON structure, and they will take care of the of making up the post request for you.
Nice.
So that's
okay.
So that's quite easy actually. And then
Yeah.
you can also use that to schedule, not to schedule, I think, but at least you can also use that to send notifications.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
You can just.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about two things before we move into like seeing how this works, because I'm all excited to like see, because like I said, I have a vested interest. I want this to land either in the borrowing stack or Hackfish, so I need to understand PWAs. So who in the industry or anywhere that you've seen that are using PWAs really, really elegantly, or like for not like all in on PWAs, but you're just using like a section, or even if they're all in, like, but who are using PWAs like today that you've noticed?
X has a pretty cool PWA. What's the coffee company? Starbucks
Okay.
also has a nice PWA.
Nice.
There were a couple of others. Yeah, of course. Yeah, Photoshop is not technically a PWA, but it is a web app.
Mhm.
So yeah, the only thing then you would need to add is a service worker and a manifest file, and you can also install it. I didn't check for why it could be a PWA right now, but yeah, that's amazing what they've done. They just basically just ported the whole Photoshop thing to the web. And a pretty recent example is Figma, of course.
Yeah.
I have to say they had to jump through a whole lot of hoops to get stuff running.
Yes.
I read an article that they basically had to build a browser inside a browser, which
Yeah.
is of course crazy. But yeah, they pulled it off. That's a very extreme
Mm.
example of that.
Yeah. But
But it just shows you what the power is of web technology nowadays.
that is true,
So
really.
yeah, those are some good examples. Store.app is also a very nice example, which is like an app store for progressive web apps. It has like a
Wow.
couple of hundred web apps in there that you can just go to. You can visit them. You can leave a review there. Yeah, definitely take a look there. It's like hundreds of progressive web apps there.
Wow.
So there is, yeah, if you compare it to native apps, it's still in its infancy, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, there are very good examples of that
Yeah. Is this
already. Yeah.
stores.app or store.app?
Store.app. Yeah, if you look it up, you'll
Really? It's not opening for me, so probably I don't know. Okay.
store.app. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool, really, to know that there's like an app store for PW, like a
Yeah, there is.
yeah.
There is. I think there's more, but this is like the biggest one as far as I know. But yeah, it's a very nice initiative.
Yeah, cool stuff. So how about because the pessimists will be like, oh, what about the security implication of using
Yeah, yeah,
PWAs? Are there
yeah, yeah,
really
yeah.
any, or that just I know, of course, since it's network software, everything is susceptible to exploit for whatever. But is it
Mhm.
really too that grave when we are shipping PWAs?
No, I would, due to the nature of browsers that run everything inside a sandbox,
Mm.
I think you could almost say that web apps are maybe more safer than native apps. Of course, there is curation in the app stores, but then if you see that, I think I almost see incidents daily about scam apps that made their way into the app stores. So, it's really not 100% guarantee that any native app you download is safe. And then there was a scandal, I think, last year about I think it was the TikTok app that was just, monitoring everything that they could, like keystrokes and everything,
Yeah.
and you can just get it in any app store. So, like they say, the curation that Apple does and all the things, it doesn't really amount too much. So yeah, of course, there will probably maybe be some extra attack vectors or stuff like that, but web apps are really not insecure. On the contrary, by default, native apps even have more permissions than web apps.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's even easier for native apps to abuse their users.
Mm.
So yeah, don't be fooled by that. They are secure. They run on HTTPS by default.
Yeah, true.
So yeah, of
Yeah,
course,
definitely.
there will always be security risks, but not any more risk than native apps.
Of course. Well, like
Yeah,
that makes complete sense because I've seen the argument one time too many. Okay, security, and I was like, really? Well,
no,
with
not really, not
really,
really, no.
yeah. So speaking about Apple, what's happening with the whole EU saga and Apple
Man,
saying no
oh
more PWAs and stuff? I don't get
yeah,
that.
it's crazy. It's so I think it was about 3 weeks already, or maybe 4 weeks already. The first beta versions of iOS 17.4 were coming out. Of course, I also monitored that closely, and then I saw, like, I think it was from MISC, that guy, MYSK. who is an independent researcher, also an iOS developer. Great guy, by the way. I met him, well, of course, online only, but really nice guy. They did some research, and then they found out that the apps were breaking in the EU. And first, there was no response from Apple at all. People were pinging Jen Simmons and other people from the WebKit team, like, what the F is going on in here? And nobody replied. So I also started testing. I downloaded the beta on my phone, and I was like, what's going on? If you open the PWA, then you would get a banner the first time, like a pop-up saying that, like, okay, this web app will now open in your default browser. So I opened it, and then it would just open as a browser. And then if you would set another browser like Firefox to be your default browser, it would open in Firefox, but still not as a PWA anymore. Of course, that's a big problem because your whole app-like feeling is gone. The standalone display mode is gone. But it also means on iOS still nowadays, push notifications are only enabled for installed web apps. So if you have a web app that's not installed, it means no push notifications, no batching. There was also no isolated storage anymore, and no persistent storage. If you now store something in a cookie or in IndexedDB or whatever, and you don't interact with your web app for 7 days on iOS, the data can be evicted. Everything will be thrown away.
Wow.
Which is a problem, of course, if you have some local data saved. But if you have like an installed web app, they are excluded from that. So then you can theoretically, save data indefinitely. But of course, if you cannot install it, that's also gone. So that was like a really big problem. Apple came, I think 1.5 weeks later, they finally came with a statement saying that they had to disable installing to the home screen because of the DMA regulations. And their arguments were that until now, all the integrations, all the iOS level integrations that provide home screen installation to web apps were all built on WebKit, on the WebKit security architecture, if you will. What that means is whenever you install a web app on iOS, that code uses WebKit APIs to install it to your home screen. So now, as you know, or maybe if you don't know, all browsers on iOS are WebKit browsers. All browsers are obliged by Apple to use the WebKit engine. So if you have like Chrome on iOS, it's basically just Safari in a Chrome skin.
Wow.
So that's why they could also use that same technology because it's all built on WebKit. But now in the EU, they enabled sideloading, which means that you can also install apps outside of the App Store. Plus, web browsers will not be obliged anymore to use the WebKit engine, so they can now bring their own engines. But of course, the Chromium engine or the Blink engine now does not have that integration with iOS to install a web app to the home screen. It's simply not there. Apple didn't build it yet. And they said, well, then we have to build it, which is not practical because we have a lot of other stuff to do. So, and the DMA says that, all browsers have to be equal. So web apps are gone. If we can do it, then no other browser can do it. Yeah, which of course is crap because of course they can build this. We had the integrations on Mac OS for years, and of course they can build that. But yeah, of course they tried. The DMA responded. Well, there is there could be many more fines. So they got a lot of pushback from that. The Open Web Advocacy. That's a non-profit organization that helps all these legislators with providing them information and doing a lot of research, to get a more level playing field.
Yeah.
They sent an open letter to Tim Cook. It was signed by almost 5,000 developers, so Apple backed off. And so they re-enabled it, everything again, but there is still no integration for non-WebKit browsers like a real Chrome or a real Firefox to install web apps on iOS. So that's still a problem. We still don't know what's going to happen because until now there are no other real browsers on iOS yet. Apple made it really unattractive to do that. So we have to see I think Google will, of course, build a real Chromium for iOS, but it remains to be seen how that's going to work, how long it's going to take. We also don't know, because I was thinking to myself, listen, if an installed if you cannot install a web app through Chrome because Chrome doesn't have the integrations on iOS, and those integrations also meant like if a web app wants to use your camera, for example, or your GPS data, the iOS takes care of showing you a banner, of course, like a permission prompt. But they said that's only in place for WebKit browsers. So my conclusion is if this is not in place for non-WebKit browsers, then probably a real Chrome on iOS still won't have any access to stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it will still be crippled, like Safari is crippled nowadays because it's missing a lot of functionality. So we still don't know what's going to happen there. We have to see. We have to see what the DMA is going to do. It's really a big unknown now. But of course, we are happy that that PWAs are back for now on iOS. But another thing they did last week is they revoked the developer license from the Epic Games company. Of course, they've been in a lot of trouble with Epics, only to restore that developer license, like, I don't know, a couple of days later. So everybody's like, what the hell is Apple doing? And they go back. First they disable PWAs, then they enable it again, then they revoke Apple's or Epic's developer license, then they restore it again. So yeah, we really don't know what is going on there. It's like they're in panic or something. I don't
Well,
know. So it
yeah,
still remains to be seen what's going to happen, but I think they will put up a hell of a fight, and this could take a couple of years, I'm afraid.
yeah,
But yeah, we'll have to see.
it's just incredible how Apple sort of, for years won the mobile browser wars on iOS by just, what, you're going to use our engine to be on iOS, which is just really interesting. I think it came to my attention during all the whole PW and EU saga, and it was really crazy to find out that if you're using Chrome on iOS, you're not really using Chromium engine. It was just weird, but of course,
A WebKit
platforms, right?
engine.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So you
yeah,
have to use
yeah,
the WebKit engine for every browser, no matter what you are on the web or on desktop. You just have to assume
yeah,
WebKit.
yeah.
It's crazy.
In retrospect, you would almost say that they had foreseen this situation, so they can have the excuse now, like saying, okay, yeah, sorry, we don't have any integrations for other browser engines, which makes sense. Of course, they don't have it.
Hmm.
Of course, they can build it; they just don't want to. But in retrospect, that was probably a smart move for them. But yeah, of course, it is crazy. I didn't even know that up until I think 2 years ago, when I think it was Max Furtman who mentioned that on Twitter one day, and I didn't even know that either. But if you look in the terms and conditions for building an iOS app, it says there that all web browsers have to use the WebKit engine, which is crazy, of course. I have to say that the WebKit team itself made a lot of progress. They've done a really good job. They
Yeah.
implemented a lot of stuff. Like, for example, even view transitions are coming up now. They implemented a lot of new stuff, but it's always this nagging feeling of they implement something, but then they leave that nagging bug that's been on the backlog for 2 years, or they do like a very minimal implementation, just like with push notifications. We have push notifications now, but that's it. You can show a notification, that's it. You cannot change the icon. You cannot do like a vibration pattern like you can do on Android. You can make the phone vibrate in a certain pattern.
Hmm.
You can connect some actions to the you have like a few buttons on the push
Yeah.
notifications to do different things. With on iOS you can only close it and that's it.
Wow.
There's
Mm.
not anything else you can do, and there are a lot of bugs that are still there on iOS that have been there for years and
Yeah.
that are just not fixed. So
Yeah. And
it's
I
really
feel like,
annoying. Yeah.
yeah, because, it business wise, I think it makes sense for Apple to make PWA suck
Of
on
course,
iOS because, of course, they
of
have the App
course.
Store. So they are not really incentivized to want to let you just bring your app from the web into iOS without going through the the guard of the App Store. So I think it makes sense business wise. Well, hopefully EU wins and open web still win because you just got that $99 per year on the developer fee off
Hmm.
for most apps.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
good. So yeah, I definitely see. I am up for seeing like how this proceed, but I like Apple and their products, but sometimes it just feels like this. They're still acting like the underdog kind of feeling. Like they're huge. They're like behemoth, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't
some
know.
people even compare them to the mafia, and I have to say, I love Apple products. I love the software, but the company itself is, management is sometimes really acting in a crappy way. And
Yeah.
I also read something like now you can, of course, if you have an app that's distributed through the App Store, you are allowed to go to another app store, but only once. Like you can try it, but then if you don't like it, you cannot come back. Something like that. I don't know all the details about it, but people on X were saying, like, you mean this is mafia? I mean, this is crazy. Why do that? And I think it's really damaging for Apple as well, because they are wasting so much goodwill
Yeah.
with developers. It's really such a shame. And if you look at history, Microsoft did the same in the late 80s,
Yes,
and
we hate it.
people were really mad at them. And now you see they're doing the right thing with with VS Code and with TypeScript. They're doing really good stuff. They are really doing great stuff with PWAs and the integration in Windows. And they get a lot of goodwill from developers, and I think in the end that will pay off. But for Apple, no, this is not happening. No way.
I don't
It's it's
know.
it's it's, it's really bad.
I don't know. I just hope they get their act together because they're a good company. We like what they build, but
Of course, yeah,
business
of
gets in the
course,
way.
yeah. The hardware software are great, but the business side of it
Yeah.
is not so great, unfortunately.
Hmm.
So we have to see how that turns out. Hopefully, they will come to their senses for that.
Yeah, definitely. I love this segment, So, but I think we should get to wrap up with demoing PWAs. Let's see, because of course we are developers after all. We got to see some code.
Yeah, of course, of course, of course. Let me share my screen.
Yeah. All right.
So, can you see the tab?
Yes, I can. What
Okay,
PWA
good.
can do today?
What PWA can do today? So this is it's a bit of a shameless self plug, but this is the app that I have built. Like I said, it has like it's a showcase of demos of what is possible with PWAs today. This is of course just on desktop in the developer view, or
Mm-hmm.
the mobile view, of course. So here are all the demos that you can see. I can just quickly show you a couple of things. Like this is, for example, this is the banner that you get when you try to
Wow.
install the app. You click here on this. This is what you see when you install the app. This is all available now in Chrome and in Edge and Opera also, of course, and all the Blink browsers. What you can do is you can provide a few screenshots. You, of course, here also some description. But what
Mm.
you see here, it brings you a bit closer to the to the experience that you have when you install a native app.
Yeah.
So it's not like, of course, on iOS you still have to go through the share menu and stuff like that. But this is much better. This just gives you a view of how it is, a bit closer to the experience that you get when you install a native app.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's
of
cool.
course, when you can also get it from here on desktop. You always see this in Blink browsers. You get the same thing. See right here. Whenever there's
Mm-hmm.
a web app can be installed, you will see this icon here.
Mm-hmm.
And that also allows you to install it. Now, like I said before, this is the view of the manifest.json file for what PWA can do today. And this is where you can specify those screenshots you see right here. Where are we? Oh, right here. You see?
Yeah.
So here we can specify the screenshot. You can specify up until 8 screenshots, and you can define them for desktop and for mobile phones. I don't know by heart where the cutoff point is exactly, but you can specify that with form factor. So screenshots is just an array. And every object has like a source link, so it sends you to the actual file, links to the actual file, size, type, and the form factor. And the form factor can be narrow or wide. So these are all the screenshots that you can show on a small screen. And this is wide. These are the screenshots that you just saw on
Okay.
on desktop. And then the other stuff is right here. Well, it's quite simple, like all the metadata, you have like the name of the app, you have the short name. This is what the icon will show whenever you install the app on a mobile device. The title will be PWA Today. There's a start URL, so it just goes to the domain. In my case, that's WhatPWACanDoToday. And then / and then the source. This part you can use, for example, for analytics.
Okay.
So you can see where you can go. There's the background color, display standalone. It means that the app on the mobile device will be shown without any browser Chrome. You can also, if you want, you can show it with browser Chrome. There are a couple of things for that. There's also the display override, which is quite new, which also allows you to toggle the top bar on Windows and Mac OS when you install it through Chrome. But that's quite new. Well, more stuff here. Categories that will allow you to add it to the apps. If you add it to the App Store, you can add PWAs to the Chrome Store, for example, now to the Google Play Store. And then you can specify the categories here. Well, description. Related application, also something that works nicely now. If you have an app installed through, and you also want to see, if you want to determine from your web app, if you already have this app installed, you can specify it here. So if you go to a web app right now, from there you can, through this, you can see if the app is already installed. So what you can do, for example, if people have your web app installed and they go to the web version, and it also has like an install button, you can detect it and you can hide it, for example. That's what this is all for.
Nice.
Yeah, so these are the icons that you can use for different devices, different OSs. It will make an informed choice about which icon it should use to install it. These are the screenshots. I already showed you before. The shortcuts, of course, I will show you in a minute how that works. Like I said, you have shortcuts. You have a description for that. You can also have an icon. So on Android, for example, if you long press the home screen icon, it will show up like a context menu with the shortcuts, and it will also show an icon for that.
Wow. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
which is pretty cool now. Unfortunately, it's not supported on desktop yet. It's only recently supported on Mac OS. Well, it was already supported for PWAs installed through Chrome, but now if you take a web app and you install it through, or you add it to the dock on Mac OS, you can also have shortcuts. Unfortunately, only when they are not, or when the app is running. It would be really nice if you right-click the icon when it's not running and you can go straight to a shortcut. But right now, unfortunately, you still have to start the app before, and then you will have the shortcuts available.
Yeah.
Yeah, some more stuff. Share targets. I can demo that to you later. It basically means that you can, whenever you want to share something from your web app, you get like a sheet that's coming up. You can share it to WhatsApp or to Facebook or whatever. This tells you that your PWA can also be a target for that. So if
Yeah.
you want to share something from whatever web app on Android, for example, and you put this in the manifest.json file, your PWA will also show up as an app that you can share something with.
Yeah, cool.
So yeah. So that's really nice. So what it will do if you share it, I know you share an image to it or something, you can make it go to this this URL, or when you have some other stuff, whatever. You can put a couple of URLs there, I think, and then it will pick the best one. So your app can also be like a shared target for that. File handler. Oh, that's also something that I can demo to you later. Right now, you can also on macOS you can make your PWA a file handler. So what that means, if you go to any file on your system and you right click and it says open with, you can choose an app to open that file with. And you can also now register your PWA for that. So if you go on my MacBook, if you go to a PNG or a JPEG or a WebP file, you right click it. What PWA can do today will also show up there. So that's
Cool.
really cool if you have like a image editing app or something, or text editing or something, whatever. You can always use it like that. Let's take a look at some stuff.
Yeah, let's see how it works.
Yeah, something that's really nice that I really like right now is the view transitions. You see this transition right now? You see it slides to the side. Well, we can also change that to a crossfade. See, now it crossfades. Or we can flip it, which is also quite nice. See, like that.
Oh, playful. I like it.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. I did another one that scales it like this. See, so it scales out. And
Nice.
my personal favorite is this.
Oh,
So
that's
you go,
beautiful.
you see? Yeah, it's quite. And this is all just CSS with a few lines of JavaScript, but these are all just CSS transitions. What you are looking at right now, and
Wow.
it's really nice because basically the whole reason that this app is a single page app right now is that I wanted to have these transitions. And of course, at the time you couldn't do that, but now I can do it with view transitions, which makes it so much simpler. But like, for example, on iOS, I still need to use these the old stuff. And yeah, it's really hard because you have to keep like two views inside the DOM at one time. You know, it's really hard. You get all these edge cases and stuff. It's really not nice to do that. So view transitions, they perform much better. They make it so much easier. And the good thing is that they're also coming to iOS right now. They're already behind the feature flag, although they're not implemented already. So that's also coming. So that will mean you can I can throw away all that code to make those those animations myself. And the good thing is it's also coming from multi-page apps. So that means that you have like two completely different full HTML pages on the same domain. You can also do nice transitions with them. You don't even need a single page app anymore for that.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's actually pretty cool. I don't know if I can use media capture right now because I'm also... Oh yeah, it's using the other camera, you see?
Wow.
Well, this is pretty simple, of course. It's just media capture. You can also record something. I don't know if it's interfering with the live casting right now. But that...
yeah, I think was still good.
Yeah. Then we can download it, of course. Quite simple, just a simple demo.
Nice, I like it.
Show you.
Show me
you
the
how
notifications.
The notifications, yeah.
Yes, please.
Yeah, of course. How that works is you need to subscribe.
Okay.
So we subscribe first, and we should get a... Oh, it already goes... normally you would get like a...
but I think you've already set the permissions
Yeah,
before.
I already set the permission. This is running on my local host for demos right now. So you can... Oh, shoot.
Yeah,
I was debugging that.
you were debugging stuff.
I was debugging that, I think. Is it coming or not?
I think it's still there though.
I
Try
think
clicking the button.
there a problem?
Yeah, with debugging.
No, I don't know. Let me see. Oh, it's coming on my other screen.
Ah, come
It's
on.
coming. Yeah, it's coming on my main
Don't do
screen.
that.
I'm
It's
sorry.
fine. Oh well.
Yeah,
Oh
it's
well.
coming
Well,
on.
I think I would have to go play with it myself.
Yeah, maybe I can hook up my my iPhone later. Maybe we can do
Yeah.
a live cast of that. Yeah, what else can I show you? Yeah, the geolocation, of course,
Okay.
should also work. Oh no, sorry. Yeah, I use Google Maps for that, but that's tied to my live.
Yeah. No, no, no.
Live. Yeah, we can also go to the live, of course. You know what? Why?
Yeah.
Why? You know, that should be better. I can show you that, of course.
Yeah. I'm trying.
Yeah, I'm in
Yeah,
Amsterdam
cool.
right now, so that also works. Pretty simple demo, of course. Authentication, yeah, I'm still working with that on how to do that to make this demo a bit more nicer.
Okay.
Of course, this is just about registering. Oh yeah, I can show you like this. I don't know. Do you see the?
Yeah, I could set the sign in Apple.
Yeah. Okay. So what I do now is I put my finger on the Touch ID. See, and then it registers that credential. Takes some time. Goes to the back end.
Let's do his thing. Nice.
Yeah. Successful. Okay. So now I can log in again. So if I do authenticate with credential, see, it shows the pop-up again. Then I do Touch ID, and then it tells you that you're logged in.
Cool.
Yeah. Of course, it's not a very exciting demo, but just to show you that everything is possible. Now, if you do this on an iPhone with Face ID, it will show you the Face ID pop-up. So that's pretty nice, of course. File handling API, or let's go to the file system first. There are two file systems that you can access. You can just access the native file system. See, so now it just goes to the, and then I can open any directory what I want. Let's just go to the what PWA can do today. Where is it? No, it's not that one. Oh yeah, let's just go to the repo of this thing. See, now you have to give permissions to let it view the files. And also to give permissions to save any changes to files. Let me go to this view is a bit better. So this is like the Git repo of the Git repo of this of what PWA can do today itself.
Nice.
So you can just open the manifest file. And then I can save it. Let's put some dots here. And then when we open it again, you see the dots here.
Wow.
I can probably show you the file itself here. I think I'll just have to reopen it. You
have to refresh the thing.
Yeah, I have to refresh it.
Yeah, probably Sky.
Oh no, wait, it's this one. Sorry, that was the.
Okay.
That was the disk file. Yeah, you see it right here. So it means that you can, you can just edit files. What you can also do is you can use the origin private file system, like this one. And what you can do there, the thing is, the origin private file system is like a virtual file system. So it won't correspond to if you create a file here. Let's just say we do demo pwa.txt. It will not correspond to a demo to this file, for example. You won't find this file on your system. It's just probably there, maybe in some encrypted file or something. I don't know, stuff like that. But it is like a virtual file system. So, and it's highly optimized for, you see now the file is here as well. It's highly optimized for very quick access and writing. So, for example, Photoshop on the web uses this. And what they do is they can, if they have like a really large image file there, which of course you have, that has a lot of layers, you can save it to the origin private file system. It's very fast, and you can also retrieve it very fast from there. And it's completely isolated. It's only meant for the origin that it's running on. So it's not like a real file system in that you can see the files on your system, but it's really optimized for, like I said, high performance.
Nice.
Yeah. On mobile, mobile devices only support the origin private file system, and on desktop you can also get the real file system, only not on Mac OS. Unfortunately, doesn't support this. The file handling API I will show you in a minute on the thing that I've installed here. Web share, web share is not supported in Chrome.
I think I got the hang of it really.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of more. Yeah. There's a lot of more. Background fetch is also very nice. Like for example, what you can do here is you can download a large file. You click it here, and then you see it downloading here. Now, let's say, for example, that we take away the network, or we go to the service worker, and we put it offline. Now it should stop. Oh no, I think it doesn't work here. Go to the throttle.
Offline. Okay. Yeah, it's finished downloading.
Yeah. No, I think I really need to turn the. I think I need to turn off the whole network for this. But normally, what would happen is if I would turn off the whole network, it would stop. I can even close the app, and then when I come back, you will see that it will go back to fetching the stuff. So it will just, or it will probably already be there. But what it does is if you download something here, it will start downloading. When you close the app, it will download the stuff in the background. If you go to an Android device, it will show up in your message center. And then when you come back, the download will be finished. So the basic thing is that you don't need to wait anymore for any downloads to finish before you can close your app. That's really the nice thing about that. So, what else can I show you? Let's take a look at the service worker. What do you think?
Oh yes, the beast, the service worker.
The beast. Okay, let's go through the service worker. That let's go here. This is the development one. So whenever I deploy what PWA can do today, it goes to it's served from this dist folder. So here we have a service worker. What I do is whenever I build the stuff, I go through all these stuff that I need to cache. So for example, all these files here need to be cached. It's all static site generated since shortly now. So I have all this, for example, here, if you go here, there's an index file that shows the whole page. It's like a completely server-side generated page. And then when you navigate on the front end, the single page app takes over. So all that stuff, everything needs to be cached so you can work fully offline. So this is all generated. So it iterates through all the directories, and then it makes a list of all these files. And that's a lot of them. A few other files here, and then we have the files to cache, which is like a concatenation of both of these things. This is for IndexedDB, but I think we can skip that. Yeah, let's just go through to the really interesting stuff.
So
whenever you install a PWA, or when it has a service worker, the service worker always goes through a lifecycle thing. First, when there is a new service worker or the first time that the service worker is installed, it goes through the install phase. That means that the service worker will be installed. And for all those phases, an event is fired. You can see that right here. So there's an install event and there's an activate event. And there's also the fetch event. The fetch event happens whenever there's a network call. And the push event is fired whenever when a push notification is received. Now, the most important thing for us right now is the install and the activate event. So when a service worker is installed, it will not take over the pages right away. It will not handle any caching, or it will not handle any network events for that. It will wait. If there is a service worker currently running, it will wait until that service worker doesn't service any pages anymore. So when there is a service worker running, the new service worker will not be installed. You will really have to close the app and then start it up again before the app can detect that there's a new service worker, and then it will take over all the pages. That's really to do this for what do you call it, for to make it consistent, so you can never be in the situation like, for example, the running service worker is running version 1 of a script, and then the new version worker comes and then is running version 2 of the script. Things might break. So you always have to make sure that nothing else, or that the current service worker is not serving any pages anymore before you can install the new service worker. Now, of course, you can speed up those things, but let's go first to the handlers for this. Now, when the service worker is installed, it will fire the install event. Then we get the wait, or we get this event. This is the install handler for that. What you typically do is you cache all the files there. So what we do here, first we get all the clients, and then we go to all the caches, which is just it's a global thing. So inside the browser, you can do window.caches. Inside the service worker, you can do self.caches or just caches for sure. Here we open the cache name. And then what we do is we do cache add all, and then we just map through all the files that we had, that we saw before. And then it will cache all the files in the background. Now, of course, it will do this in the background, and the install phase will last as long as these files need to be cached. And that's what the wait until code is for, the wait until event. The service worker will remain in this install phase until all this is finished. This returns a promise, and when that promise resolves, this means that all the files are cached, and only then will it go to the next phase, which is the activate phase. So you will never be in a situation where the service worker is activated and it's still, caching all the files. You don't want that to happen. You want that to be done. So that's when the next phase comes. And then it can be activated. And then typically what you do in the activate handler is you go through all the caches if they are there, and you can see if there is any cache there with a cache name that's different from the current one that we have. Normally what I always do is I use a versioned cache. So I would have for example, PWA cache number 5. And then when there's a new service worker, it will be PWA cache number 6, for example. So what the service worker will do, it will delete the previous one, number 5, and then all the stuff will be served from number 6. So that's how it works.
Nice.
Then it will go through the activate handler. Then the service worker is activated, but it comes into the waiting phase. So there's actually 3 phases: install, activate, and waiting. So when the server worker is activated, all the files have been cached, everything is set up for you. You can also set up, IndexedDB, whatever you want to do. You can do it all there. Whenever that is done, the service worker is ready to take over. It will enter the waiting phase, and then it will wait for the service worker, the current service worker, to finish, serving any pages. And then you have to close the app and then start it up again. But it's not always a guarantee. Browsers can be a bit picky about that. So what I have done is I've done it a bit differently. I can show you a bit of it here. I think it's here. I also have to check where I put that, or did I put it here? Yeah. So basically, what I do is whenever there is a new service worker is coming, the on update found event is triggered, and inside there I set a where do I do that? Right here. I set a flag to true. This means service worker needs an update. I set it to true, and then what I do is I send a message to the service worker. Mm-hmm. Right here, it sends a skip waiting message, or actually what it does, I have a helper here somewhere, and that sends a message to the service worker. You can just, with any worker, you can send a post message to it. It sends skip waiting. That happens whenever there is when a new service worker is installed, and then we go to the message handler. I gave it a type of skip waiting. And what we do there is we go through all the clients that are currently running. Clients are like windows or tabs, so you can have like multiple tabs open of your PWA. And then it's going to check how many clients are currently open. And if there is only one client open, so less than 2, it will call the skip waiting function, or the skip waiting method. And what that does is the new service worker that was currently waiting for the current service worker to stop serving, it will skip that waiting phase, and it will basically just kick out the currently running service worker and take over. Now we have already everything in place, and we know that all the files are cached, all the stuff is set up, and we know that the current service worker was only serving one client, so only one app, one tab, one browser window, whatever. So in that phase, we know it's safe to say, okay, now we only have one client open. We can skip the waiting phase, and the new service worker can take over right away. And what that gives you is that you can basically, whenever there's a new service worker, you only have to, or like 99% of the time, there can be some edge cases. 99% of the time, you can just refresh the page, and the PWA will be refreshed. Nice. So that makes it a lot simpler to do that stuff.
All right.
Yeah. Well, there's another one I wanted to show you, which is the fetch handler, of course. Where are we? Yeah, I would say this is the most important handler of them all. Of course, this is the one that handles all the requests. So anytime that there is a fetch event coming, there is any fetch call done from your, if you do it with fetch or you do it with XML, HTTP request, whatever, anything you do there will go through this fetch handler. It will give a fetch event. You will have a request on there. And there what we do inside is we call the respond with method. And what that does from the event, of course, and what that does, it allows us to respond with something. So what we do there is we go through the caches we have, and we try to see if that request matches anything in the cache. So, for example, we have some CSS file cached, and then if there's a request for that certain CSS file, it will look into the cache, see if that request matches, and if it does, it will return a response from the cache. So that's what we do here. If we get a response from the cache, we return it straight away. If not, we go further. It's a single page app. It also has routes like push notifications, for example, for the push notifications demo. So what we do here is if there is no match in the caches for that, I look at the URL at the time, see if it doesn't have an extension. If it doesn't have an extension, I look through the index file for that current file. So, for example, if we go through the push notifications one here, or like notifications right here, there is of course an index file. So I check if that index file is in the cache. If it is, I return that. Otherwise, if there's nothing in the cache, then probably we still need to fetch it, and then we just do just a regular fetch for that file and to get it from the network. Now, you probably already get the idea. There's a lot of more stuff you can do. For example, here, if let's say that you there's a couple of strategies that you can do. What we do right here is what is called cache first. So if there is something in the cache, we serve it from the cache immediately. What we can also do, after we have served that response, we can do another call and to see if there is any fresh content, for example, because you can of course run into situations where you are still serving something old. So what you can also do there is like fetch something and then or serve it first from the cache. And then after that, you fetch it from the network and then you put it in the cache. So that means you can always serve a fresh response from the cache. There's also other things you can do. You can serve it from the network first and then cache it. So there are all kinds of strategies that you can use for this. And that's all what you do in this fetch handler. I'm not going to make it too complicated for you because I think it's already. But the basic idea is the fetch handler is always called for any request. You can call the respond with method there that allows you to respond with something either from the cache or maybe it's a modified page that you want to do. I even thought about making, maybe doing some client-side templating or something. You can also, if I don't have that here right now, but let's say, for example, that this fetch call that goes to the network doesn't get a response either. I think this is wrong because this is double. If there's nothing there, you can also serve like an offline page or whatever, You can also you can do something temporary, like for like some period in time, you serve something different. There's endless possibilities for that.
Cool. Definitely.
Yeah.
I think this is a lot of work you've put into this, and I was really glad that we saw the output first of all, but seeing the work that went into it and all the service worker life cycle, the manifest file, this is really good, and this is open source, right? We could all go check it out later.
Sorry?
Yeah. What PWA can do today is open source, right?
No, it's not open source.
Okay.
The reason for that is that it still has a lot of backend code integrated with that, and also of
Okay.
course also stuff that I cannot.
That's fine.
I still have to take that out. I'm still planning to open source it. What I've done for now is that I put all the code in code snippets right here.
Okay, cool.
See, so
Yeah.
every demo comes with its own code samples.
Yeah,
And
definitely. That's definitely fine. I would have to, consult you when I'm trying to implement that for Hackfish and also for the Boring Stack, because I feel like all these goodies, it's good if we integrate it into our frameworks, because it just makes it a little bit more enticing than trying to figure this out yourself. Because most of us in our jobs, we don't really write vanilla JavaScript that much. We have been frameworked, but so definitely that's cool. So yeah, I think we could wrap up now, right? You could stop sharing, then we could just wrap up in
like I
right
said, I'm
now.
also working on some on some more PWA tools. So yeah, I might open source something like one of these days, maybe that's what I was thinking about, some boilerplate or something. Yeah, maybe additionally some paid services as well, maybe for authentication
Yeah.
and push notifications as well. Maybe something with subscription. I'm not sure about that yet, but there will definitely be something. Yeah. In the meantime, I'll keep on writing on my blog on Medium and in my newsletter as well about. I like to teach something every time about PWAs. Whenever I put a demo also on what PWA can do today, the next week in the next episode of the newsletter, I also explain it in detail with some more code samples. So hopefully,
Yeah,
I can
definitely.
teach
So
everybody some more with that. Yeah, and I also have a PWA course upcoming, but that will probably take some more time.
yeah, for sure. Thank you. Like, it's really good that you're pushing the envelope for PWAs. I definitely look out for the work you're doing. I'm going to leave links to everything you've mentioned, the course when it comes out, but of course, your blog post and everything else. So thank you. Then, is there any
Thank you so
parting?
much for having me.
Yeah, for sure. Do
It
you
was
have?
really nice.
Yeah, definitely. Do you have any parting words for like devs watching this in terms of like anything at all, web dev, PWAs, or anything you want to say?
I would say even if you don't want to build a PWA right away, please put a service worker in your app. It's really I always say every web app, every good web app deserves a service worker. Make sure that just put something simple. No need to get fancy, but just make sure that you put a fetch handler in there. Cache your assets. It can be really simple. You can just cache a few images, JavaScript, CSS, all that stuff, cache it. So next time users come to your site, it's already there. They have a better experience. Your performance will improve dramatically. Start with that. And then, maybe you have a PWA running soon.
Yeah, that's amazing. Every good web app deserves a PWA. I like it. Or a service worker, rather. Yeah, sure,
Yeah,
definitely.
absolutely.
I love
Yeah,
it.
absolutely.
Thank you so much, Danny. This has been an amazing session.
Thank you so much. It was my pleasure.
Yeah, mine too. I'm learned a lot. I am going to be bugging you the DMs as I figure out how to do this in the Boris stack. So thank
Be
you
my
for your
guest.
time.
Be my
Yeah,
guest. Thank you. Thank you.